this video is to go through Tutorial 6, Case Problem 2, Step 5 in the Access 2010 textbook. So we're working with the training database, and what I really want to focus on in creating this form is how to do the calculated control. That seems to be what students are struggling with the most. And so I'm going to skip some of the things like making the form look nice in order to focus on just doing the calculated control. And so the first thing it asks you to do is to create a custom form named Programs with Members, and I'm on page 353. Again, case problem 2, step 5. So create a custom form named Programs with Members based on the table, the program table, and the members table. And so we're going to create a form. And there's multiple ways of doing this. You can do this through Design View, or you can do it using the Form Wizard. I usually use the Form Wizard when I can because I think it's the simplest way of just creating even a base to work with. And so I'm going to go off the program table, and I'm going to include all of the fields. I'm going to leave it in the columnar format and then call it Programs with Members. Programs with Members, and I'm going to put a number 2 at the end because I have already done this once in my database. So I'm going to modify the form's design, so I click on Finish. And right now I have the form here in Design View. If I've switched over to Form View, you can see this is what it looks like. So in comparing it to the figure 6-53 in the book on page 354, we have about half of it done. Not quite half. Anyway, we go here, and what I need to do is I need to add the Program Members subform. So I'm going to create some space here by dragging down the form footer, and I'm going to place a subform right here. Okay, I'm just going to make some room. So I'm going to go to my Form Design Tools, and on the Design ribbon I'm going to click on the Subform button, which is this one right here. So you click on that, and I'm going to click and drag to draw an area for the subform, and once I do that it'll ask me which subform I want to put there. And I'm going to click on this one right here, Program Member Subform. Okay, and that'll place it in there. Say, would you like to define which fields link the main form with the subform, and it's linked through Program ID. And so I can just click on Next. And it says, what name would you like for your subform or subform report? You can just leave it named that same subform. So now when I click over to Form View, you can see that I do have the subform in there. Make it a little wider so I can see it. Okay, so I'm almost there. There's some cleaning up things I need to do, but really the last thing I need to do is add that calculated control, and I'm going to do that in Design View. Okay, so these are the steps where students start getting missing what needs to be done. And so what we need to do first when you're doing a calculated control is you need to add it to the footer of the subform. Okay, so here's my subform. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to go to, oops, I already got this in there. I'm going to go to the footer area. I'm going to insert a text box by clicking here, inserting it in the form footer, and this is where I'm going to enter my formula that essentially says to count the number of members in each subform. So my formula is equal count, and then in parentheses I put the range that I'm going to count. Well, I'm going to choose to count the member ID field, so in square brackets I put member ID, close my square brackets, and then close my parenthesis. Remember, anytime you use a field, you need to have square brackets around the field name. Okay? The function for counting is count, and then in parentheses you put the range that you need to count. And in this case it's the member ID field. Now here's where it gets kind of tricky. So you click on this, and we need to open up the property sheet for this control, and we need to give it a name. Right now it says text 14. Let's give it something more descriptive. So we're going to do TXT, and I'm going to do MBR for member, NUM for number, and then count for the function that it's doing. So the name of this control is text member number count. Okay, write this down exactly because you need it in a little bit. Okay, so we can close this property sheet. So that's the first thing. When you're doing a calculated control, put it in the footer of your subform. Okay, now that we've done that, I can go up here to my main form and add a text box. And all I'm going to do is in this text box, I'm going to reference this footer in my subform and have the result display here. Okay, the result will not display in my subform footer. I want it to display here on the main form. So all I need to do is write a reference here to this control here. Okay, and I'm going to do that through the property sheet. And so I'm going to move this over so I can see both at the same time. Open up my property sheet. And right here where it says control source, I'm going to say the source of data for this control here is this field over here. And we write that in a special way. So I'm going to click to the right of control source on these ellipses here. And you can choose from these lists here to get it in there, but the syntax for it is in square brackets write the form name that it's coming from. And in this case it's coming from the form FRM program member subform. So I'm going to double click on that to put it into my control source expression builder. The next thing that follows is a period. The next thing is just in square brackets the word form, so we can designate which type of object the data is coming from. Follow that with an exclamation mark. And then after this, it's the name of the field, the name of the text box, and I named it txt member number count. So I'm going to start my square bracket, and I'm going to look in this list for it. And here it is right here, text member number count. So I double click on that. I thought it was MBR, so I'm a little concerned this isn't going to work, but hopefully it will. And that we're done. We click on OK. We can close out the property sheet. And now when we click over here and display, there is an error because I knew that that wasn't the right name. So if we go here to the property sheet, it's actually text MBR NUMCOUNT. So we can click on OK now, and now it'll work. And again, I need to clean up the label here, delete this, but you get the idea of how to go through and add calculated controls. First step, in your subform, expand the footer area, add a text box with your calculation. And name it, and write the name down somewhere. Okay, next, add a text box in your main form, open the property sheet, and where it says control source, write the code to reference that text box, the name of the text box you created. Okay, and then of course you'd clean it up, but that's it. Good luck.